What's up, superstars? This is Caleb, aka Big M, and this is the Power Up Podcast. Welcome to the inaugural episode of my little startup solo podcast here. I really appreciate you guys, all the listeners here, tuning in, and honestly, hopefully this will be a good one as, like I mentioned, this is going to be the first. We're going to be going over a couple of topics here, Nintendo-related news, the small amount of Smash Tourney roundup that we did have over the past month or so, and in general here, we'll kind of start off with the tourney roundups, as I didn't really cover too many tourneys today in this section. Hopefully, as the series goes on, I will cover a little bit more. But honestly, right now, we've just been having a lot of Wi-Fi tournaments and top player sub tournaments going on that are of note, quote unquote. So I'll go over initially here, actually, one of the few in-person tourneys that is running right now. And that's going to be ESA, also the Esports Arena, as known to many. So all of their locations of the Esports Arena, they've opened back up to LAN tournaments, whether it be Smash and such. And they've been hosting tournaments for the past couple of Sundays. Now, that itself is questionable, as we are kind of in a pandemic. It's very on the fence as to, if they should kind of be running those tourneys. But, the ESA staff have mentioned to us and have also displayed that they are going through all the necessary sanitization efforts to try and keep these tourneys as little of a COVID hotbed as possible. But I personally wasn't in attendance, so I kind of just asked a couple of the competitors and pulled up the bracket here right now just to see some of the results for these tourneys, because even though we are in a pandemic and I slightly disagree with running these tournaments, it most definitely is good Smash being played there, as in the first ESA back we had Toffee in appearance and a couple of other notable names such as like Murabito, and in terms of PR, not too many were there, but also Rat, who recently moved into the area, a Wi-Fi warrior of somewhat fame, also debuting here in this tourney in the KC scene. So with the bracket pulled up in front of me, we have Toffee, of course, pulling in with the first place prize there. 24K actually becoming the runner-up there, a up and rising Puff main in KC here. So props to him, kind of getting second place there. And then rounding out third, you have Murabito. And for the rest of the top 8, you have Justin, the Yoshi player, Yellow Salami, with his Fox. And I'm sure he played a couple of other characters. And then you have Rat also pulling in fourth with Yellow there. Enforcer getting seventh. And Ansem, our last member of top 8 there. So a decent tourney overall. It most definitely was an interesting one, as when we got to round 2, we had Toffee versus Rat, which, if you do follow Rat, you most definitely were looking to see this match, as it pretty much shows how Rat will do against the top talent in KC. Because Toffee, when you think of top talent in KC, Toffee is the one you think of. His flashiness, his aggressive, the options that he chooses. Yeah, he is a KC player through and through. But that first match, it went 2-0 to Rat, but an upset by the most simplest means there. It's hard to really explain what happened there, as unfortunately I wasn't there, so I wasn't able to really get a recording of the set or anything like that. But Toffee did mention here that he used a lot of characters throughout this tourney, including Min Min, Diddy, his signature Wario. He pulled out Mega Man, Cloud, Marth, Terry, and even played a little bit of Captain Falcon. So it's possible that Toffee was using a secondary here, but not to knock the win that Rat did get early on in this tournament. It showed that, this kid, you can't underestimate him. But, as Toffee does, he goes through losers, brings it all the way back, gets the run back with Rat in losers round 5. He 2-0s him there, and plows his way through bracket, facing Murabito in losers finals in a close game 5 set, and then finally gets up to 24K in winner's side and resets the bracket 3-1, and then finishes off the bracket with a sweep. So a nice tourney there. All the people seeing that bracket most definitely had, their eyes opened as that early upset really was a big highlight there. Now, since it's taken me a while to kind of get out this podcast, I'll also go over the second ESA tourney that's been ran post, during the pandemic here. And this one, we actually had Final Boss in attendance, another KC PR player known for his Bowser, also has a wolf pocket that he pulls out every now and then. And this tournament kind of shaped up a little bit more. I guess you could say it was a little bit more mundane. Not too much happened. Kind of looking at the bracket, no big upsets are jumping off the sheet here. Rat was also in attendance. Let me go ahead and just read off the standings as we have Final Boss, who showed up, won the tourney with no sets dropped. You have Toffee coming in second here, only losing to Final Boss. Then you have in third, you got Yellow Salami, so that's a great placing for him. He's most definitely looking to improve upon that performance, as that kid, he only strives for the best. You got Murabita pulling in fourth, Enforcer and Tron Bone in fifth. Interesting to see Tron here. He's more associated with like the Lawrence or the KU scene, but it's always great to see him in KC tourneys. Then you have Rat with the seventh, and E.T. Homs guy pulling up and finishing out top 8 there. I will say I haven't seen of or heard of Homs guy, so it most definitely a name to be looking out for, all you KC players, all you Kansas players, just to see this kid, see how he plays and what he plays. But honestly, a relatively small tournament, so not too much going on there. Just thought I would report on it, as these are the only in-person tournaments we are having in the area. So next, what I want to go over, once again, like I mentioned, this podcast took a little bit to go out, but all the way back on August 8th, there was a great sub-tourney held by top player Cosmos called the Cosmic Kerfuffle. And honestly, this was one of the most hype sub-tourneys I've seen in a long time. I mean, and I think the community kind of echoed those opinions, as Twitter was really popping off for this tourney, as it had some great hype moments. A lot of top players were in attendance there at this tourney. Let me go ahead and read off this top 8. We have Mile getting a respectable 7th place, Sonics rounding it up with 7th, Epic Gabriel getting 5th, Benny and the Jets also 5th, those two Robs scoring 5th place there. Then we have Aaron getting 4th place, Aaron the Diddy Kong player. And then we have Best Ness getting 3rd, Spargo being the runner-up. And then to cap it off, we have Riddles, who won the whole thing. If you were either watching from his perspective on his stream or watching the main stream on Cosmos' stream, it was really hype seeing him kind of pull off the comeback. He was really down against Spargo, and all he needed to do was hit one confirm into a Buster Wolf, and that was a set. So if you can, or if you want to, you can most definitely look up for the VODs on YouTube there, as they have been posted. So I thought, it was a sub-tourney of note, so I thought I'll talk about it a little bit. Riddle's really showing what Terry can do online, as, he can kind of mash those buttons, as he has pretty good hitboxes he can throw out at all times and decent frame data. And like if you see the grand finals match, he has a comeback factor in that go meter. So really fun to watch. Wanted to mention that before we move on to the last little tourney, or I guess in this case an invitational I want to touch up on. Hopefully this podcast comes out before it airs, but Gimmer is hosting a invitational introducing the 8.0, now 8.1 patch with all the top players representing each of the characters that got buffed. So this he's calling it the Gimvitational, Gimmer in. He's replacing it with that, if you didn't catch it. But, he's hosting that tourney on the 23rd. That's going to be a Sunday. From the day I'm recording this, that's 3 days. You can do the math. And honestly, it's going to be one to tune in. And I hope, more people kind of tune in and kind of give this little event some clout, because I think these types of invitationals are going to be the future of um, the Smash spectator, as we are in these pandemic times. As you know, there's not really any in-person tourneys you can spectate, or just kind of pull up a live stream and get hyped for. As like I mentioned, there hasn't been really any sub tourneys that I've been hyped for, except Cosmic Kerfuffle, as that's why I wanted to mention it here. But yeah, this invitational, it's looking to be fun. Nothing too crazy. While there is a prize pool, I believe $1,000 goes to the winner here. It's really going to be for fun, as you have all these top players playing buffed characters in the patch. So we have MKLeo repping his classic tried and true Marth, who got those tipper buffs. You have Cosmos pulling out his soul main, Corrin, who got, a little bit of variety buffs. And he's been doing some crazy stuff with the character on Wi-Fi tourney. He's won a Wi-Fi tourney recently here. I forget the name, but yeah, I'm looking to see Cosmos's Corrin in this invitational. Then you have DeBuzz manning the Pit. He's been trying out that character recently on stream, and it looks kind of clean. Pit's he's always been described as an honest character, but in this game he does have some pretty cool options, and I don't know. He has a very appealing combo tree to me, so I'll also be looking out for those matches. And then you have Fatality pulling out his signature Captain Falcon. If you've seen any of the first to tens that he's posted on his YouTube channel, or just popped into the stream, this man has been destroying top players with Falcon in that first to 10 format. So I want to see what he can do in a tournament setting there. And then Larry Lurr will be manning a Falco. It's been a minute since we've heard from Larry Lurr in terms of National Smash, but Larry Lurr's online Falco has been pretty crazy. He also has a YouTube channel of his own. If you didn't know, you should most definitely try to watch some of his highlights, as yeah, he does some crazy stuff with Falco, and I'll be looking out for that. And then we have Tweak using Diddy Kong, and yeah, if you haven't seen any Wi-Fi tourneys lately, that's been the character Tweak has kind of been manning since. He has really great item play, so it's no surprise that he picked up Diddy with such flying colors, and his Diddy is most definitely something to watch. You have Mars manning an Ike. It's been a long time since we've seen Mars use Ike, and I don't know, I haven't heard Mars talk too much about this character. He honestly, from what I've seen on his streams and from his YouTube channel, he doesn't really think the buffs were that significant. If anything, he does feel like the Nair nerf was a little bit worse than getting the trade off with the up B, killing ridiculously early now. So we'll have to see how he goes with that. But Mars's Ike is still going to be very clean regardless of his confidence in that character. So and then lastly, the last invitation spot went to GSM Void. One of my favorite players to watch. He's going to be playing Mewtwo, which is interesting there. So I haven't seen him play Mewtwo that much. I haven't popped into his streams as much as I would have liked to. So I'll use it to kind of catch up and see what he's been doing with that character. And then, top commentary talent will be there too, which is, one of the more fun things for me in the event, when I hear top commentators kind of going back and forth, especially at these, laid back type of tourneys, akin to Smash Summit type commentary, where they can really just lay it back, throw out whatever jokes they want, commentate about the match, talk about the players, really kind of just go freeform with it. That really gives me some of the best content when it comes to these commentators. So I hope to see you guys in Twitch chat there on August 23rd. That's when that tourney is going to be happening. So that's it for the tourney roundup. Like I mentioned, not much to really talk about there, but I did kind of go on for a little bit there about those. So we'll go ahead and refocus here with some Nintendo general news, or I guess kind of the lack of, if depending on who you ask. So at the time of recording this, well, not at the time of recording, at the time I was planning to do this podcast here, the Pikmin 3 Deluxe port for Nintendo Switch was announced. That was back in August 5th, and Nintendo just kind of tweeted out this trailer announcing the game. They didn't talk about it or even hint at it any time before, and just kind of posted it on Twitter. we've seen this tactic with another game, that being Paper Mario and the Origami King. And, these types of shadow drops, as some people have been referring to them, do garner a little bit of hype, but, you know, it's almost become a meme at this in the Smash community. Well, not Smash, but overall Nintendo community at this point. That we haven't gotten a Nintendo Direct, and people are kind of wondering why these types of announcements aren't bundled together, put into a Nintendo Direct, and finally giving what the people want, and kind of give us some updates on what Nintendo is going to be doing for the rest of this year, as we don't have too much of a really we don't have too much of an idea of what games are going to be coming out, as we really only have Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and more recently they did have an Indie World Direct, which kind of showed their list of exclusive and non-exclusive indie titles that are on the Switch are coming to the Switch. And there were some great titles there, including a Goose Game. I believe it's an update that allows co-op. It may be an entirely separate game, but it doesn't look like it. It just seems like the same assets, but you can use two geese now. That's a little hype there, but the main Nintendo, the kind of more mainstream Nintendo fans are looking for your Zeldas, your Marios, and your Metroids. Honestly, they're looking for any of those AAA first-party titles from Nintendo to kind of announce something, as they've kind of went silent about their main big releases, as we don't really have too much lined up for the rest of the year. So if you are a Switch owner, you're looking more towards indie games and such to kind of fill out your Switch library with newer titles, since Nintendo hasn't really delivered any info. So, there are a couple questions being brought up with what Nintendo's been doing, as, is this kind of how they're going to do their announcements? Just shadow drop random tweets showing games? And is the Nintendo Direct, like the general type of Direct, is that dead, as it's almost been over a year now? It's been around 300 days since the last general one. I mean, if you want to be specific. And people are kind of giving up hope as to when it will come out. Well, some are giving up hope. Others are speculating that it comes out next week. So you never know with the Nintendo community there. Honestly, it's just kind of a mess with how their release schedule is being, but not much info there, so I'm not going to harbor on it too much longer, as I kind of want to get to these other topics that I have, as, like I mentioned when I was, scheming up the notes for this podcast, the Stealth Patch 8.1 for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch, that came out, and 8.1 with it didn't bring any character balancing like 8.0 did, but it did bring out the new stage type Small Battlefield. Along with that, there were some minor changes to online to hopefully fix some issues or alleviate some issues. And then also the last big thing that it did is allow you to use any music track in the game on Battlefield, Final Destination, or Small Battlefield. Now, well, also Big Battlefield 2 is also included. So kind of going by each of those changes, the biggest one, Small Battlefield, that it's big. It's a really great stage. If you haven't played on it yet, I would suggest, kind of loading up, well, it's hard to suggest loading up Elite Smash, but if you wanted to test out the stage, it's now an option on like your Elite Smash preferred rule set. You could put it on Small Battlefield, and you could get a cool 1v1 match tested out, as Sakurai himself said that the stage was designed to be a 1v1 stage where, to encourage close quarter combat. And honestly, I think it succeeded, really removing the top platform of Battlefield and then kind of shrinking those platforms in a little bit closer are the two main differences. And then the blast zones are more similar to FDs. So people are dying a little bit earlier on that stage than most in the current competitive rule set. And honestly, I've been having a lot of fun with it. That dual plat type of setup has shown that it's pretty good for 1v1 competitive Smash Bros. In general. And I'm really interested how people will implement this stage into their rule sets. It will really be a waste if we don't kind of put that into the competitive rule set stage list, as it's such a great stage. It's honestly a pretty good neutral stage, as, people have been praising Pokemon Stadium 2 for being one of the most neutral stages in the game. I think this stage maybe tops that. it is actually a little bit smaller than maybe zoner players would like. I don't know. I need to get a little bit more info, but you know, I do need to kind of get that perspective from a zoner's view because the rushdown characters most definitely like that. The sword characters like it because they can control more of the stage easier since there's less stage to kind of oppress with that disjointed hitbox. And just in general, most character archetypes really like the stage. Um, Only one that may not like it is zoners, but honestly, characters like Rob, I can't imagine he does bad on that stage. And Pac-Man maybe not. I need to kind of get in touch with my zoner mains to see how they like that one. So, this new stage being implemented has kind of roared back up those debates about stage lists and whatnot as to, what should we do? Should we put on hazards on now that we have a dual plat stage we can use? Do we continue with hazards off, but, knock off a previously used stage like Yoshi's or Lilat? That's been kind of going on and raging, and not since then the conversation has kind of died down since this update came out a couple of weeks ago from when I'm recording this. But hopefully those kind of spark back up and we get a more definitive answer. But since in-person tourneys are not coming back in a while, not many TOs have it high on their priority list, which is unfortunate. But I don't know. Be sure to kind of come up or conjure up some little stage lists for me. I'm glad to kind of discuss them with you over on my Twitter at the biggest M, always plug. So last thing I want to talk about, that 8.1 patch. The open music is really nice. I really like being able to listen to any track in the game. I feel like that was kind of a such a minor issue that a minor issue that I had that in the competitive rule set we don't really get to listen to too many tracks. Like, we have so many Pokemon stages, so we get to hear Pokemon's beautiful music, but we don't get to hear many other tracks in the game. And I think this kind of alleviates that issue, as now on Battlefield FD or Small Battlefield, you can use any track you want. So that'll be great for whenever tourneys kind of come back in their typical form. Moving on from that, just in other Smash news, the next couple of things I want to talk about are a little bit more dealing with Smash Twitter, as in the past couple of weeks, some things have kind of gone down on Smash Twitter there. No surprise, Leffen's at the center of a lot of it, but before we kind of get into the more drama side of things, I want to talk about, Mars and Light's kind of, they had a little stream together. At this point, it'll be a couple of weeks ago, but if you wanted to kind of catch up on, what happened in that stream, Mars has like highlights on his YouTube channel, and yeah, honestly, I would most definitely give it a check out if you didn't catch the stream yourself. But Mars kind of flew out Light to, kind of play some friendlies and play some offline Smash. And honestly, the only reason I want to talk about this here is that it's kind of like the highest level of offline play that we've seen since COVID has kind of started. And it was honestly a refresher. I had kind of forgotten what offline Smash at the top level looked like. And yeah, Mars and Light really demonstrated that, where they played a first to 10, Zero Suit Samus versus Fox, the classic there. And these two being the highest octane players in Smash Ultimate most definitely helped in the entertainment value. And of course, Mars and Light also like to talk trash, as they have a little rivalry amongst themselves. So it was a really great time kind of being in that stream and watching those two play and duke it out there. So and yeah, I mean, the community around also shared those sentiments, as the stream itself had around 1,000 viewers concurrent, and it really never dropped from there. It kind of just went up to 1.8, I believe, at some point, and that's like the highest amount of viewers that Mars had gotten for a while. And it's honestly I guess I wanted to mention that because it's assuring, that the Smash community is still out there. We have had a lot of things kind of go down in the last couple of months here, as we've lost a lot of big community figureheads because it turns out that they're not great people. And it's good to see that people still enjoy Smash. It's not tainted or anything along those lines. And when offline tourneys do come back, there most definitely will be an audience. And yeah, just wanted to share that. And if you can, drop by Marv's YouTube channel. You don't even have to specifically watch the highlights from him in like kind of playing, but in general, he just has great content. So drop by, maybe drop a subscribe, and yeah, just kind of intake that content. So, like I was mentioning, I'm going to go on to some Twitter drama that did happen here over the past couple of weeks. And yeah, like I mentioned, Leffen was kind of in the center of it here. So, kind of starting off, we'll start off here with the. So, I guess it all kind of started off with Wadi as he posted a tweet that, he wanted to practice Smash, but he doesn't have Smash Ultimate he doesn't have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on his Nintendo Switch. He doesn't own the game. And, people most definitely in the comment, in the replies of that tweet were very confused as to like, wait, you're a top 20 player on the PGR. You don't own the game. So, I mean, a decent question, but honestly, Wadi has always shared that he doesn't play the game a lot. And most of his practice comes from, and I quote, farming locals. So, as such, there is kind of this portion of the community that, gets riled up with like ultimate players and how it seems like it's an easy game, I guess. I don't know how to particularly put it, but people were kind of up in arms that he doesn't even play the game and somehow he's a top 20 player. And here, let me read a quick tweet kind of addressing this side of the community. Wadi put out this tweet. He said, guys, I know it's a bad look, but like, I never cared about being the number one player. I play to have fun, beat other players that I want to beat. I just happen to get good at it, lol. Being a top player doesn't always have to mean that you want to eat, sleep, and poop the game. So, yeah, that pretty much sums up exactly his thoughts to that side of the community that were really, kind of driving that point in that he doesn't play the game and somehow is a top player. And he pretty much just says that, he didn't want to try hard that much and he just happened to be good at it. And, not many people were happy with that response. A few kind of understood, like, you don't have to grind this game like it's, it's not a 24/7 thing, And pretty much so the people that weren't happy with the response kind of got Leffen involved in this kind of conversation as, Leffen kind of took that side and saying, this just kind of this is just one of many examples where ultimate players don't kind of practice the game. And, it's just kind of what I'm trying to illustrate here is that, Leffen doesn't think ultimate players really play their game that much, And here, let me go ahead and pull up some of these Leffen tweets as, him expressing once again his kind of view of ultimate and ultimate players most definitely brought up some conversations. And a Twitter user by GWAS, JIWAS, his at being GWAS is here. I mean GWAS here, JIWAS HERE. He kind of put out a tweet, subtweeting pretty much Leffen here. Let me read the tweet. The way Melee players went after Wadi for no reason besides him being the one player that fits Leffen's ult agenda. And Leffen didn't like that as he retweeted that and kind of started some beef here. So he pretty much retweeted, come at me, kind of come at me. Let's discuss this. I want to see what you have. Here, let me go ahead and read Leffen's direct response to that tweet here. He's like, yeah, bro, I have this crazy agenda that ultimate players don't practice much. Woo, it's almost like there's daily proof of most top players doing F-bomb all on Twitch every single day for almost 2 years. But yeah, just an agenda the players often admit to, lol. So here, with that, of course, a lot of players kind of got up in arms on, the more ultimate player side that, don't really believe in that Leffen ideology that, most top players don't even practice the game. And due to that, Leffen ended up kind of pulling up his own stream and, starting talking about kind of disputing and talking about these points. And yeah, what he kind of even live he put out some more tweets talking about all the sub tweeting that's going on. Here's another one that he put up. If old players spent as much time actually practicing to prove me wrong instead of subtweeting me every 5 minutes about how I'm so wrong, then maybe all you would actually be winning. So it's most definitely an interesting conversation. And I'm bringing this up. You're here listening to me to kind of see my point of view, and from the way I look at it, most unfortunately, whenever I hear Levin talk about Ultimate and their top players, he most definitely does have some good points. As I do believe a lot of our Ultimate top players don't practice the game or grind the game as much. And I'm not saying here that you need to be a 24/7 grinder or the game has to be your lifestyle. Like, no, that's not true. This is not that type of game. Um, and honestly, it's kind of bad if your lifestyle is Smash Bros. Ultimate. I believe you should probably pick up some other hobbies or just enjoy something else in life. As we've seen, Smash Bros. Is not the most reliable type of thing to kind of full send your life for, but it most definitely is a fun hobby that you can practice on and kind of master into a craft, but not much more than that. It's a great video game, and it stands for a lot of things in the gaming industry, but it's not your lifestyle, man. You should most definitely do some other things, but on the other hand, a lot of top players don't really practice the game. Like MKLeo most definitely, while I believe he practices in labs and does all this stuff in his own time, he's not doing it as much as, like, there's really only a couple of players of the community that we could really deem as like lab rats or always hitting, practicing and doing all that. Players like Dark Wizzy, who kind of religiously loves the game and plays it as much as he can. Void is another lab rat, someone who constantly is, trying to figure the ins and outs of this game. And, a couple of other smaller players that, aren't in the, aren't PGR contenders, but most definitely put a lot of hours into this game and it shows. Tweak is another one of those players that, puts a lot of time into this game, and it really shows as he's number 2, possibly number 3. Well, easily top 3 in the entire scheme of the game, in the world there. But pretty much I say all this to say that, there's only a handful of players out of the 50 in the PGR. I would say maybe 10 kind of play this game as much as they can, especially compared to like other esports, quote unquote. Like, if you've ever met a professional League of Legends player, well, I mean, and by professional I mean like signed on to a professional team, or at least even popped into one of their streams, they're only playing League. Not many League players have the time or have the leeway to kind of be like a variety streamer where they can play some other game on stream just for fun, because League players, they play that game all the time. And if you're not playing, you're not getting better. So if you're going to be competing on a national scale, on a global scale, you have to be playing that game 24/7. And I mean, it's true like that for almost a majority of esports, even other fighting games. Well, maybe not with more modern fighting games. I believe like Tekken is one of those games where if you're not playing, you're only getting worse and everyone else is getting better. So if you want to compete on a national scale, you need to be grinding that game really hard. But I don't know, it's just hard when you compare it to other esports. You look at top players and people signed, and yeah, their only fame and their clout only really comes from them being a good player. They don't have time to kind of stream and be a variety streamer and enjoy luxuries that most of our ultimate top players have. And it kind of makes it evident that what Leffen is saying has some truth to it. Now, I will say, of course, this isn't an absolute. All ultimate players aren't like that. But it most definitely is something to kind of bring up. And honestly, there's another point that I want to kind of get into that Leffen has kind of expressed in the past that I also agree with, that a lot of players that play Ultimate don't even like the game, and that kind of hinders, the amount of time and effort people are willing to put into this game. But I'll actually kind of get on that later as it comes up in another topic I'll be pulling up a little later in the show. So just kind of stay tuned in and I'll get back on that. But there's just one more thing I wanted to address with this Twitter drama, as it kind of reopened a wound that, we thought the Smash community had closed a while ago, and that's the natural talent versus hard work debate. And a lot of people kind of saw this as kind of a stupid little spat that happened a while ago. The question pretty much is there natural talent in being a Smash player? Like, are some people just born gifted in video games to a point where, say something like going 0-2 at a tournament, they don't really have to experience that because as soon as they played in a tourney, even if they never even played the game before, with their natural talent, they'll somehow, not go 0-2. They'll be able to beat, some of the lower players there. And yeah, with, Leffen talking about the Ultimate community and how a lot of them just kind of piggyback off of their talent at the game, Dark Wizzy and a couple of other Twitter users brought back up that natural talent in Smash debate here. So let me read this tweet from Dark Wizzy that he initially put out, but later deleted after kind of getting into a spat with Leffen here. Here's the tweet. It's going to be, so Dark Wizzy says, natural talent in Smash literally doesn't exist. And I'm standing by this forever. So, not soon after, Leffen kind of went to dispute those comments. And most of this was kind of encapsulated in the live stream. Unlike with his beef with like GWAS and Pandarian, he kind of addressed this more on his stream that he had, just kind of talking about the random subtweets that he's been getting. And this was just kind of suggested by one of his viewers. They just kind of pulled up Dark Wizzy's tweet and said, hey, want to talk about this? And he kind of went on it. I don't know if the VOD is still up on his channel, but I can kind of give you the quick rundown. He goes over that in pretty much all things, that you could be born with certain features that just make you naturally talented at something. So, for instance, the most bare bones example he was trying to use and trying to get through to Wizzy, who was actually in stream chat, kind of going back and forth with him there. The most basic example is who's going to be naturally more talented at a video game. Someone who's born without hands or someone who's going to be born with hands. And of course, the obvious answer is somebody with hands is going to be more naturally better than the person without hands at Smash Bros. I mean, it's just a given. If you have hands, it's going to be easier to play the game. And he kind of used this example as a piggyback to kind of make it more and more complex, just to pretty much come to the conclusion that, there are small things that you're born with that will make you more naturally talented, better, not just at Smash, but at video games as a whole. So, for instance, if you have, a hand size that is more comfortable for a GameCube controller, that'll, help you out a lot in the long run when it comes to natural talent at Smash. How your brain kind of works. So, if you're more of a visual learner, or you can kind of pick up on combos and muscle memory faster than another person, then yeah, that will make you more naturally talented at Smash. And he brought up some other good points, but that is the sum of it. And Dark Wizzy eventually folded and, kind of retracted his statements. And kind of the lasting conclusion we got from that small little dispute was that there is natural talent in Smash, but, there isn't like a Smash gene or a perfect Smash specimen that you can breed, or, nothing crazy like that. There isn't a Smash gene that you're born with that makes you immune to 0-2s at tournaments. It's just little small things like your hand structure and, how your brain works and all that stuff that you're naturally born with that makes you either naturally better at video games or, naturally worse. And it's stuff that you can't prevent, but in the end, hard work will outbeat all those things because going back to another one of Leffen's points, you can pretty much outwork those people as every second they're spending not playing the game, you could be playing it and getting better. So that was kind of the conclusion from that little kind of, dispute or spat, whatever you want to call it, drama even if you want to call it that. But I just wanted to cover those things because those were things that caught my interest on Smash Twitter. Smash Twitter doesn't often catch my interest, but, little disputes between top players like that sometimes do, kind of talking about the game outside of the game, talking about natural talent or, how much work top players put in stuff like that kind of piques my interest. And once again, if you want to talk about it, feel free to hit me up, give me a follow on Twitter at the biggest M, as you could either shoot me a DM or shoot me an @ and we can go to have a discussion if you want. But if not, just follow me anyways, always plugging. So, kind of to round out everything, before I do sign out, just my closing things, what I want to do here, going back to my Twitter plug, before I started recording, I put out a little tweet asking, for community questions. Pretty much here, if you reply to the tweet with a question, I'll answer it here on the podcast and kind of go over my thoughts, as that's why you're here. You're here to listen to my lovely voice talk about my little mind. So let's go out to it. My original tweet here. Everything is set up for me to record. Feel free to reply below with topics or questions you want me to talk about on the show, which is happening right now. So we'll first go off with Keith Johnson at CKS Bad Takes. He dropped me this lovely reply. So, what storylines do you predict will come out of the post-Rona Midwest Smash scene? What players are on the come-up, and which players do you expect to not benefit from / quit when tourneys come back? So, I will say, I tried to kind of get prepared for this question, as, it's asking a lot about our local scene here in the Midwest. If you didn't know, I am originally from Missouri, and I play I'm in the Kansas scene in terms of Smash, the greater Kansas scene. Love my SoCan homies, but I'm kind of situated in KC at the moment. So, kind of going over the Midwest storylines that he wants me to try and predict, kind of use my fortune ball here. I'm thinking one of the bigger stories that we've kind of already seen play out a little prematurely since ESA has opened up is Rat. Rat is, if you didn't know, I kind of touched on this early in the podcast. Rat is got most of his fame from being a Wi-Fi warrior. He took a set off of Leo kind of early in the Wi-Fi warrior era here during COVID. And since then, people have kind of garnered some fame from him and notified him as a pretty great Pichu player in the nation. So he recently moved to our region, the KC region. And I think one of the local storylines that will develop is kind of how good is Rat and how does he stack up against our current top players, It's going to be very interesting to see how he goes against, some of KC's greater PR players like Onua and Final Boss and I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. And Wisdom. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but it's going to be interesting. I most definitely am personally interested myself to see how this young prodigy will do against our talent. Like I mentioned, it is a little bit happening already prematurely, as he's already gotten a set off of Toffee, but it's shown that Toffee still has the up on him, as he did have a convincing run back there, and he's still getting top 8s in the ESA tourney, so we'll just have to see how he does against the rest of the PR. That's one of the more local storylines I'm looking forward to. In the greater Midwest, that's a little bit harder. The main thing I'm looking towards, because it's a little bit more personal here, is that Kansas kind of just had its first C tier, and a couple of other, well, not just, but way before Rona was being talked about, we had Sweet Spot 6, and that was like the first PGR event to happen in Kansas. And a couple of other big events were happening in the Midwest even before that. So my big thing is just, it'll be interesting to see kind of a storyline, if you will. Will the Midwest be able to pick up where it left off in terms of steam, in terms of player base? Will we be able to kind of garner the attention that we haven't been getting in the wider national scene? Like, you have players like Raven King and now Skittles, who's kind of gotten fame through the Wi-Fi era. But, the Midwest hasn't really been seen as like a juggernaut in the Smash scene. Like, we have a couple, maybe 10 players that compete on a national level, but unfortunately not on a PGR level. And we were most definitely getting there. And I feel like a couple of our players most definitely could secure a spot on the 50-person, if not the 100-person PGR. And I think that's going to be one of the big storylines, like who becomes the best player in the Midwest, who becomes the handful of top 10 players in the Midwest, and can they represent our region well when it comes to fighting the West Coast and the East Coast, just doing well in those big PGR events. And then lastly, touching on that last part of the question, what players benefit slash will quit from that here. Um, quit after Rona pretty much. So I don't see too many players, at least locally, quitting the game. I've been trying to keep up with as many Midwest players as possible, and no one's showing that they have a huge disinterest, especially, if local tourneys come back. I mean, in ESA numbers, averaging about 20 players is showing that, at least in Kansas, people want to go back to tournaments really badly. And I believe that's true for all of the Midwest there, as, a lot of Wi-Fi tourneys have been happening in the Midwest too. Well, not in the Midwest, but a lot of Midwesterners guys are competing in these Wi-Fi tourneys like Skittles. So, I guess what I want to answer is that people that will benefit though. So I've been talking about him a couple of times here, but Skittles, I think he will really benefit from kind of the clout and the experience that he's gotten from this Wi-Fi era, and the sponsorship he's gotten, which will help him kind of expand more on his career and really go full in on his Smash Bros. Career. Hopefully he'll show up at a couple more PGR events and show what he's really made of. Really just takes one top 8 for, the Midwest to kind of get its name on the map. Another player I'll be looking forward to is Toast, as I haven't seen him too much in online tourneys, but the little bit I have seen, he's shown some great promise, and I feel like, these players that are able to play their mains online in a Wi-Fi environment will only get great experience, and we'll kind of capitalize on that. Even though Wi-Fi feels like a completely different game than offline, there are most definitely some like tips and tricks you can pull from Wi-Fi and kind of apply to offline Smash. Another person, I put a question mark here because I haven't heard much from Tony Z Tank, but I most definitely expect Tony Z Tank to kind of show up some stuff. Another Nebraskan boy, but he plays Sonic, and it's just going back to my other point that I think these players that main or co-main a character that's good in a Wi-Fi environment will only be able to kind of take some Wi-Fi strategies and be able to apply them into offline and just overall enhance their character play. But yeah, with that, I think that kind of wraps up this question. I'm going to move on to my next one. This one from Rocky at ROCKEBELLBOA. So at Rocky Balboa ask favorite Wi-Fi warriors. So I guess going down the list, I've always, kind of enjoyed Skittles' play, even from offline times, and now going into Wi-Fi times where he's gotten, a lot more attention and he's been showing his stuff. I most definitely tune into Skittles' Wi-Fi tourney streams, one of my favorite Wi-Fi warriors and players in general. Next, I enjoy Cola. Cola, one of the best Wi-Fi players out there, and kind of his laid-back demeanor, and he generally seems like just a great person in general, so it makes it a lot easier to watch him and just enjoy Wi-Fi tourney. Well, not with him, but just kind of enjoy watching him progress through a Wi-Fi tourney there. And he plays really cool characters in Cloud. He plays Snake in a pretty cool way, pretty hype way, and his Roy is always kind of giving him some acclaim. So, and then another one that I enjoy, Best Ness. Another great Wi-Fi player, probably one of the best out there. And the stuff he does with Ness Online shows that while some of the degenerate Ness strategies you see on Quick Play and Elite Smash are viable, he shows that there's so much more, as he kind of shows great combo tree depth with that character, and he really makes sets really exciting. So, and then I kind of included these last couple of ones because they're not particularly Wi-Fi warriors strictly like those other three that I mentioned. Well, those guys aren't Wi-Fi warriors strictly either. They had great offline results, but they've garnered a lot more attention in the Wi-Fi area. But these next three are just going to be top players that I enjoy that also happen to be playing Wi-Fi. So one of them being Cosmos. Um, he was struggling using Inkling at first, and then he kind of transitioned over to Pikachu. But now he's kind of found his footing with his soul main Corrin, and I'm very interested to see him play in tournaments and how great he will do. Like I mentioned, he won a Wi-Fi tournament recently, and that was pretty fun to watch. So I really like watching his streams, watching his tourney runs. Another one being MK Leo, and that's just, he's a great player. Even if it's online, he shows spectacular skill. Kind of quoting someone here. I forget who said this. I think it's Coney maybe, or maybe Esam. Yeah, I think it was Esam. He said, if you don't like watching MK Leo, then you probably don't like Smash Ultimate gameplay. Like, he's the pinnacle of Smash Ultimate gameplay, and while Wi-Fi most definitely hinders some of his strategies, it most definitely is still there. And then lastly, I do enjoy Riddles' play. It's mainly because of the Cosmic Kerfuffle. I haven't seen any other Wi-Fi tourney runs of his. It's really just going to be that, and that's it. So, yeah, other than that, those are going to be kind of my favorite Wi-Fi warriors to kind of talk about and enjoy there. Let me go ahead and move on to the next question. So, next we have a question from Beezus here, at Beezus69. That's Beezus 69. And he asked, what types of things upset you about the Smash community? And here's where some of the stuff that I was talking about earlier with the Leffen stuff is going to come right back up. Because one of the first things that I dislike about the Smash community here is going to be just kind of the whole culture of like subtweeting and people talking about stuff like they kind of know everything and anything about the game inside and outside. And then when somebody with great points kind of rivals them, it just, their whole argument kind of falls apart, or it just looks really stupid and dumb. And yeah, just kind of, people that are good at the game aren't also, good at tweeting, I guess is the best way to put that. Just some of the subtweeting in the community, just, people kind of throwing shots without, actually trying to address it, just trying to get some impressions on Twitter is really one of the things that I don't enjoy about, Smash Twitter is more what it is. It's not really Smash community as a whole, but Smash Twitter is a part of it. So that's one of my dislike things. And then another thing that I mentioned earlier, just kind of the culture of disliking Smash Bros. Ultimate but still playing the game. That's honestly my biggest pet peeve, and if I had to rank this on a list, this would be number one. People, it being hip to hate the game is one of my most irking things that I see whenever it comes to Smash and the Smash community as a whole. Like, I don't like players that are playing our game just to kind of trash on it, just to thrash on it. And, it's fine to be critical of the game. There are most definitely things in Smash Bros. Ultimate to be critical of. It is not the perfect game at all. But people that just play just to complain about mashers, and then complain about zoners, and then complain about people sitting there, and then complain about this and complain about that. Like, either stop playing the game or find something you enjoy and talk about that. Because, firstly, most of these people that are complaining about the game and throwing out these just common complaints for impressions, not really even trying to improve anything, just want to, have people agree with them. They're usually not great at the game, unfortunately. It's gonna be, the people that complain about, a Mario mashing 15 moves on their shield, well, use an out of shield option, or if it's too safe, just range him out, because that's Mario's weakness. Like, find something, do something other than just complain about it on Twitter, get your 1,000 likes, and repeat and rinse the process again, because it really gives a bad stigma on our community, as someone on the outside looking in would, be in the right to say that a majority of the player base doesn't like Smash Bros. Ultimate. And that's not a great statement for any video game community. For the majority of their players to not like the game is very bad. Um, I can't help but compare it to Melee, where those guys that have been playing it for years and years and decades, they love the absolute everything about that game. And they understand that it has problems and issues, and they make funny memes about, overpowered stuff, such as like Marth's grab and Jigglypuff just being boring. But at the end of the day, they know to kind of give praise about their game and talk about why their game is the best. And if you talk to a Melee player, they believe the game is the best game in the world, they'll be able to convince you, even though they have things that they complain about every now and then. I haven't talked to many Ultimate players that truly believe that Ultimate is the best game that they ever played, or even that it's a great game that they've played. Um, Now, I will say in our local community, I don't think this is that rampant. There's only a handful of players that don't actually like the game but continue to play it. Most people really enjoy the game in the Kansas scene, and honestly in the greater Midwest scene, from the kind of regionals that I've been to. Not many people are like that, but there most definitely is a handful, and it's a more greater Smash community at large thing, where it's just really cool for some reason to bag on our game and never really give it the props that it should be getting. Um, and then last, there's a couple more points here. Gonna go through this one pretty quickly, as it's just the Smash community is very immature, partially because Smash is an E for everyone game, and very appealing to children with all the colors and all that. So there are a lot of underage people in our Smash community that are immature, and that's fine, that's excusable. But then you have older people in the community that act mature to kind of get the attention of the younger people in the community, and that's very, very weird, and I don't like that. There's not really much to go in on that, just that the Smash community is immature, and take that as you want. If you want more in depth, feel free to give me a follow on Twitter at TheBiggestM. Once again, that's at TheBiggestM. Give me a follow, hashtag team follow back, so always plug it. Lastly, this is the last thing I'll kind of touch on for this question, is that the majority of the Smash community, they lie on either two ends of the spectrum. One where they're very cocky about their play and think that they're godlike and they're the hippest thing to ever come to the game, and they can beat MKLeo if they get a set with him. Or you're on the other end and you think that you're poo-poo garbage and believe you should go 0-2 at every local, and that you're playing one of the most busted characters in the game, but you still lose, or kind of the super self-deprecating side. And honestly, it always seems like people in the Smash community reside in one of those two areas. They either think that they're all that and they have nothing to back it up, or they think that they are super awful and they have nothing to back that up. Sometimes there are bad players that think that they're even worse than they are, and that's also very unfortunate. But the majority of players, mid-level players I'm talking about, either think they're way, way much better than they are, and try to take sets super seriously, or feel like you're wasting their time if you don't play a certain way. It's really weird on the more cocky end. It's a little less common for players to be super confident in their play and them not actually being good, but it most definitely happens, and I don't kind of like that side for obvious reasons, because even if you're like number one PR in your region, or you take games off of PR members daily and all that, and you win tournaments and farm locals, nobody wants to hear that, because you're not the best in the world. Don't say that you are unless you are, But once again, I will preface this by, there's not really many people, like, the things that I'm talking about, they don't really apply to anybody in the local community. So trust me, I'm not, like I mentioned, I dislike the whole sub-tweeting mentality, so I'm not sub-podcasting any of you guys listening. So this is just more of the Smash community at large, national, just stuff that I've even experienced or seen at some regionals back when those were happening. But yeah, the other part that I wanted to touch on was the self-deprecating. Now, I will say that there are a couple of people in our local community that are overly deprecating on their own play, but this one I don't hate I don't hate the person for doing this. I just dislike that it's become a popular thing in the community to dislike your own play. You'll have PR players that, think that they're not great at the game when you clearly are. While, of course, if you lose a set or you get upset, it's fine to be, a little bit into yourself and, be sad about the loss, or reflect on how you played really bad that game or you weren't playing at your best. And that's fine. There most definitely have been times where I've played awful and I've reciprocated that statement and told people that I'm just terrible at the game. And I understand that. It's fine for the moment, but leave it for the moment, kind of, if you need that time to kind of reflect on yourself and kind of bag on yourself, leave it at the moment and then give it some time, let it sit, and then, be back to your regular self. I don't want to sit and see somebody who's really great at the game crying over themselves because they got upset. It does happen, and it really sucks, and it's very sad, and it's fine to be in your feelings about it. But, don't go over at it. Maybe next week leave the past in the past, But, and once again, there's nothing wrong with those players. It's natural to really want to be down on yourself, especially if it's a game that you take seriously. Like, if you're playing the game and you do bad, it's natural to really be sad about it and feel like you're the worst in the world. So I don't blame them for it, and I'm not saying change it now, but I'm just saying, just be mindful that other people don't want to see you sad, So, that's going to be that question. We'll move on to the next couple here. That was kind of a long one. Let me head on over here to Echo's question here. That's Echo Acosta. I don't know how to say that one. Sorry about that, Echo. But I'll go ahead and read your question out though. Thoughts on the future of the Smash community after the top player scandals and COVID? Will we bounce back or will people move on? A very valid question here, and well, I guess initially to just talk about because if you guys wanted to hear my thoughts on kind of the player scandals and all that there, my general outlook on it is that it's going to make our community just more positive and better in the long run. While most definitely it'll take some initial fans out of it, it most definitely will hurt and damper some of the people wanting to be in Smash, and I understand that. But I think in the end, it's going to be positive and better for our community as, that type of behavior won't be encouraged. It's going to be very, very discouraged, actually, as all those players that have been outed for scandals, they aren't coming back. They're not going to be playing on a national level, and that's the end of that. And, that type of behavior that they exhibited will be shown to not be taken lightly. And those type of people that want to be in our community just for that type of behavior, they'll know that it's not accepted, and they'll either not be in the community or not try to reciprocate that behavior around us. And I think that's going to be better for us. While it will dampen numbers for the initial part, we'll keep everybody that's necessary, But with that being said, kind of moving on to what will happen post-Rona, post-COVID, I think the first, accepted official offline tourney, so maybe PGR event or something along those lines, whenever the PGR starts back up and top players start wanting to go back to tourneys, that first tourney will be huge for Smash. If that tourney does great numbers, it'll only kind of be great and up from there. If that tourney does bad numbers, it won't be a great sign, but I don't expect that to happen. People are pretty much drooling for offline gameplay. Like I mentioned, the whole Light and Mars offline friendlies, or whatever you want to call it, that stream, it garnered so much viewership for Mars' channel that he didn't have before. So it's not just a niche that, only a couple people want to see. The Smash community at large wants to see that. And even Smash Bros. Reddit, which I rarely peek at. I just peek at it to see what headlines are there. they were talking about that stream because it was kind of a big deal. Like I mentioned, it was the highest offline level of play we've seen in a while, and people like high level offline play. And if you tell them, hey, we have the best offline high level play that we've had in years, we have global talent here, hopefully hundreds of thousands of people will tune in. So I don't, um, I don't fear that will be a thing. I think our first back official accepted tourney will be big, and that'll resurge the community, and it won't be doom and gloom anymore. Um, Next thing I do want to mention about kind of the bad thing, like I mentioned, the previous scandals and just that Wi-Fi is pretty bad. Um, there's not going to be many newcomers to our scene, unfortunately, and I mean that's true for most fighting games where you get everybody buying the game at first, and then player bases kind of decline. But Smash was very different as it's Smash Bros. It's not a typical FGC game, and there were many new people coming in frequently. But at this point, I don't think there's going to be a mass amount of newcomers to Smash Bros. After everything that has happened in the past few months, or really we could say for this past year. There's just not going to be anything we can really offer or any stigma we can clear up from the Smash community that will incite new players to come back. New players to come into our scene. They'll be looking for, newer in other games. So that's an unfortunate reality, but I feel like the Smash install base is already massive, one of the biggest in fighting games in general. So we don't really have to worry about new players coming in, as most fighting games don't get many new players. We'll be fine with our current install base. And then another thing I want to talk about, hopefully the Smash World Tour will come back. If that comes back, viewership, participation, attendance, that will immediately spike, as everybody wants to kind of participate in the Smash World Tour, whether it be as a spectator or a competitor. It brought a lot of promise to the Smash community and made everybody playing Smash everywhere. So and then lastly, I feel like local scenes won't really be affected by this. If ESA opening up is an indicator, yeah, we have a lot of people wanting to play offline Smash, and small local scenes, that won't be affected. You'll still be getting, around the same numbers to your tourneys. I don't think that's going to drop off too hard, as I don't feel like many local scenes were affected, as most of the scandals were kind of the large national scenes. I mean, and by local, I mean smaller scenes, really. So most of the Midwest local scenes won't really be affected as not many Midwest smashers that I know of were really outed amongst all of this. There most definitely were cases that were there, and if there are any more, I most definitely encourage you to speak up. But like I mentioned, there weren't that many that did kind of pop up around us that would, discourage people in the Midwest from playing Smash, And then lastly, I do think that majors and how they're ran will be slightly different. Bless me. I hope that didn't. I may need to cut that out. Or, I guess it's a podcast. I shouldn't be cutting out anything. I haven't cut out anything to this point. And editing is hard, so I may not. You just may get this full and raw, so. But, yeah, so like I was mentioning, majors will probably be different and be ran differently in terms of the social aspect of those gatherings. But, they'll still be great spectator experiences, so. Let me go on to these last couple of questions, because I'm kind of getting withered here. But we've been going on for an hour, so hopefully great content for you guys there. I think this is the last question. Yep, this is the last question here for the podcast, and this one's gonna be from Seth at Oh Dear It's Seth. What do you want to see from the Smash Ultimate franchise after Smash Ultimate? So here, I kind of interpreted that in two ways. So just kind of for the Smash franchise, if there's anything else we could do for Ultimate at the moment. So in regards to Ultimate as a game, I feel like, they'll continue with more improvements to online, and hopefully we'll get some type of hazard toggle to improve, gameplay in general. And hopefully more casual modes will be added to Smash Bros. Ultimate, like break the targets and maybe some type of small adventure mode where you can run through some challenges, or maybe even board the platforms if you know that 64 classic mini game. That was really fun, and I feel like you can most definitely make it pretty spicy for Smash Bros. Ultimate. But for the Smash franchise as a whole, like if there's a new Smash game coming up anytime soon, what do I expect from that? So for a new game, I feel like unfortunately we've peaked in terms of roster. We're not really gonna get a better roster than this. It's going to have to kind of start scaling down, start going back to a falling action, and kind of start over. So a smaller cast of 15 to 30 characters at the maximum, plus DLC, like up to 15 DLC characters, maybe. And honestly, that's a lot, but I'm thinking it would be rolled out in along 3 seasons. But 15 to 30 characters is what I'm expecting for a new Smash game. And what this Smash game will do differently than Ultimate is kind of flesh out some of the more casual modes. As I feel like the competitive experience for Ultimate, it just needs tweaks like to movement and all that. Like there most definitely are a lot of problems with uh, competitive Ultimate, but in terms of mechanics, I don't think there are things that just need to be added to the system. Um, like tweaks to frame data and general stuff like that. So I'm more looking towards like fleshed out casual modes, such as like break the targets, a better story mode, possibly an adventure mode, a cooler classic mode. I mean, I feel like classic mode and ultimate is pretty cool, but maybe even expanding upon that even better. Like I mentioned, break the targets will be cool. Um, but actually, kind of going back on myself here, there are some mechanics that I would like to be implemented, such as like pretty much just movement options. I feel like that's one of the main lacking things in Ultimate. That while everybody is fast, not many people have different movement options. There's not many options. Everybody has fast movement, but not many people have fast options. So stuff like wave landing, kind of like that sliding off of uh, sliding off of platforms. I feel like that would be pretty cool, just to kind of jump up and air dodge towards a platform, well, into a platform, and being able to carry that momentum off would be pretty cool. I know people have kind of been uprising, wanting perfect pivoting back. I think it would be interesting to add to this game, but if you add that, I feel like you have to rework the dash dancing mechanics and kind of the fox trotting mechanics, which would be interesting. Um, and I think that's a good way to kind of go. But yeah, just more movement mechanics in general would be very great for Smash's mechanics. Another thing I want to see is like cooler final smashes, or potentially giving every character 2 final smashes. One that they kind of keep their one from Ultimate, because Sakurai was mentioning he wanted the final smashes to not be so absurd and just only equated to casuals. I mean, it really will ever only be equated to casual play, but he can keep those smashes as they are, but just add a second one that is more flashy, more crazy, and more representative of the character. Like one of my biggest complaints with DLC, well, not biggest, but one of my complaints with DLC characters is they all have the same final smash. It's hit you and then do a cutscene, and those are cool and fine and all, but I think having crazy final smashes, like more inventive ones, like I don't know, just kind of look towards Brawl and see all the final smashes along that cast, and they were all very inventive and very unique. So kind of have those second final smashes be more on the Brawl side of final smashes, and then you can kind of have their final smash one be the same as Ultimate's philosophy. As those final smashes are cool and are fun to use and play, as like you can combo into them and feel free that you got a great combo into death. So yeah. And then the last thing, I would love to see some type of skin or colorway system be put into Smash Bros. Ultimate. So pretty much what I'm saying is like custom skins. So think of like the Mii creator, except you go into your character and you can go, like for instance on Mario, you could go to the skin creator, and you'll take the default skin. It'll show you all the color values for Mario's default skin, and you just get a color hexagon, and you can kind of fine tune your own colors for Mario and create very unique and cool skins. And then also on this note of like colorways, I do feel like there should be more inventive skins. Like, like Mario has his Super Mario Maker outfit, his wedding outfit. I feel like all characters in the game should have at least 2 outfits that somewhat change their character model. It's kind of unfortunate that you have a lot of characters like Sonic and Pac-Man that just have slight differentiation in their colors. But yeah, a custom skin creator and more inventive skins for every character is something I'm looking forward to. So, with all that being said, I think we got through it all here, people. Looking at my show notes, we're coming on to the closing, and I'm looking forward to getting this out to you people. And I mean, by the time you're hearing this, it's already out. So I do thank you for listening. Before I tune out, I just want to once again thank you for tuning in, and for you that listen to it all, I appreciate your support and all that here. Once again, gonna plug my Twitter. It's gonna be at the biggest M. That's TheBiggest, and then M. Yeah, so I'll be posting updates about this podcast on that Twitter account. So if you want to want to keep up with the podcast or get your question featured in the next episode, be sure to follow me there, put notifications on. And how I'm working this out, I wanted to get into a schedule where I post 2 podcasts every month, but we'll just have to see how I'm able to publish this one and how that all goes. And hopefully this comes out before the 23rd of August, or at least before August ends. That's my goal, is to get it out before the 23rd, but it most definitely will come out before September starts. So, just want you guys to keep updated. Once again, thank you for tuning in for the first ever episode of the Power Up Podcast, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Big M, signing out.